Hello everybody, this is Dean from Motion Media, and today this is part 2 of our look at Marvelous Designer 2 and 3ds Max, and basically getting stuff into and out of both. Our first tutorial concentrated on getting our character with animation into Marvelous Designer. And I covered that in great detail, and I'm going to recap it here, but I suggest you watch that first one to get all of the details. I'm going to recap it because I want to move this character so she's closer to 0, 0, 0 to make it easier to move around in Marvelous Designer in terms of lining the cloth up with the character. So, okay, so that's fine. The character now is in closer to 0, 0, 0. So I'm simply going to select the character, and I'm going to save out this point cache. Again, I'm going to override it, what we had. I'm just going to say record. It's going to record all 149 frames. Then it's important to note that we're going to export the geometry via OpenCollada, which is something you need to install on your system if you don't already have it. And the link for that and further explanation is in the first tutorial. Alright, so it's done doing the point cache. With the geometry still selected, I'm going to say export, selected, and I'm just going to, again, overwrite my character. Okay, taking the defaults. Alright, now we're going to move to Marvelous Designer. So first I'm going to import the Collada file. Okay. Alright, at this moment, if we go to the animation mode, you can see we have no animation. We have to import that separately. So let's say File, Import, Vertex Animation Point Cache. There's my point cache. I'm going to apply it to the body, and I need to make sure the units are correct. Say OK. Alright, we can check this by going here. We see it's there. I do have some viewport issues here, or I should say navigational issues, so I don't know why the character drops out of its position. I haven't figured that out. But we're going to go ahead and work with it anyways, and I'll show you. We're going to run into trouble here in a minute. I'm going to show you how to fix it. So let's first build cloth. Again, this tutorial is more about the importing exporting process, not really as much about designing a really cool piece of a cool garment, but we're going to look at that quickly as well. So I'm just going to make a dress, and this is similar to what the tutorial does on their site, and I suggest you do it because there's a lot more details in there that I'm covering when it comes to actual garment creation. So I'm trying to be somewhat symmetrical here as I build it. And okay, we'll close it. Okay, I'm going to Control C, Control V. That copies it for me. So now we have a back piece. Okay. Now we're going to stitch it together using the stitch tool, and again they cover this in great detail in the tutorial, but basically I'm lining up these stitch points on both sides to make sure I have it correct. If it's an X, it is incorrect. So if I just click, now those two are stitched. Now I'm going to stitch this side to here, and we'll stitch these little shoulder pieces together. Okay. Alright, now it's all stitched together. Now what I'm going to do is, again, because we're going quick here, I'm going to just put in some curvature now. And you want to do it on the front and the back. And you want to try to make it as close to the same as possible. It doesn't appear that it's too crucial, but still helps. Okay. And then we'll pull this one down. And I purposely did a kind of a longer garment so that we'll get some cool dynamics here. Okay, so once we've stitched it together and basically, you know, created our pattern, we need to sync it up with this side over here. So we do that with the sync button. So now it's brought both our patterns over into here. So first I'm going to select this and move it down, and select this and move it over. Then I'm going to move to the left viewport, and I have the back one selected now, and you can see that the stitching is crossed. It's because the back panel's facing me, and it should go the other way. Okay. And then I'm going to take that front piece and just make sure it's off the body. So now we're going to go back to the front view. Okay. And you know what? That's actually pretty good. So I'm just going to leave it like that. So now we can do a little simulation. So let's do that. So I'm going to hit the simulate button. Now you can see already what the problem is. In the software, obviously it wants the ground plane at 0, and so the cloth thinks it's hitting the ground there, and obviously this is just a big mess. It's not going to work at all. So let's stop the simulation. I'm going to go back here to frame 0. Now I'm going to reset my cloth. Oops, sorry, wrong button. Okay, so let's go back to Max. And what we need to do, or what I found that I need to do, is I need to move the dummy up 150 units so that, let me just say unload. And we're going to basically redo that process. So let's move it. So you can see in Max I've moved it up off 0. And the intention is, again, I don't understand why this happens, but when I use the motion capture it seems to drop below. It doesn't seem to have a 1-to-1 there, so this is a little workaround I found. And again, there might be something I've overlooked or I'm doing wrong, but as anybody knows, in 3D you're constantly problem solving, so this is part of the problem solving. So I'm going to export selected, open Collada. This is my geometry, and OK. So now we're going to go in here. We're going to say clear the avatar. Gets rid of our avatar. Let's just re-import it. So the Collada file first. Okay. And then we're going to do the animation. Import the vertex animation or the point cache file. Make sure it's applied to the body, not the cloth. Centimeters to match up with Max, and OK. And we can go in here to animate and just to double check, and so we see it there. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a bit here. Okay, so you can see our character is up higher, so I'm going to move this up, and we'll move this up. Because I reset these patterns, you can see that the rear one is incorrect, so I'm going to go to the left, I'm going to rotate it, and then I'm going to move it to the rear, and then I'm going to move this front one out just a little bit. Let's go back to our front view. Alright, and that's pretty close. Now, at this point we have two choices. We could simulate it, which is what we would likely do if we are creating a piece of cloth on a still object, or a still mannequin, if you will. But what I want to do is I want to simulate it and I want to record it at the same time so that I can export the geometry of the dress and the animation. So we do that by hitting the record button. So I'm going to do that. So hit record. You see it automatically depresses the play key. And I do like the fact that it holds my animation and does a little, you know, lets it kind of sit with gravity for a second. And you can see, you know, this is problematic and whatever, but, you know, whatever. Okay. So now we'll stop and stop the record. Go back here, and you can see it recorded a little past there, but you can see the dress. And again, you see I have problems. I probably should change my animation. That's why it's going through the cloth there, and it's not, it's probably too tight on her, you know, but whatever. For the moment, I want to talk about just getting this in and out of Max. So at this point, I want to say export OBJ, my cloth. Okay. And I only want the cloth, I don't want the body, and I need to make sure my units are the same. Okay. Then next we want to say export garment animation as a point cache 2. And I'm going to just call this cloth and save. Again, same thing, make sure that you've got the correct units, say OK. Back to Max. Now with everything left where it is, let's just say import. Let's do the cloth. Okay, import. Alright, now let's add a point cache. And then we want to load the point cache we just exported. Okay, you see it moves the cloth there. So I'm going to rotate this so that it's at least orientated right. I'm not sure if that's a word. Now, as you know, we moved it up 150 on Y, so I'm going to do the same here. So you can see that doesn't fit exactly. So again, I may be doing some of this incorrectly, but when I follow their tutorials, this is what it looks like I have to do. And we'll go to shaded mode here for a second. Let's turn on edges. Okay, and then see if we can get this lined up. Might be a little too low. And again, I'm not obviously being too accurate here, but you get the idea. And what I'm doing is just basically making sure I don't see any intersections. Okay, that seems like it's on there properly. So again, this is more about the process of getting it in and out. You can see we got it on there. Some of the collision problems are coming from the fact that my garment needs to be adjusted in Marvelous Designer, but more or less we have it on the character correct, and that's the process by which you get it in and out. They also point out that you should probably, or you can if you like, add a shell modifier to the dress to give it some thickness. Right now it's just a 2D spline, or not a spline, but just a one-sided piece, and you can see still continues to work fine. We go one step further, add a mesh smooth, give it a lot more detail there, slows down just a bit. And again, part of this stretching here, this weirdness is coming because, I'd probably want to go back and alter my animation just a little bit to prevent my hand from scooping it, or, yeah, it looks like a few things I could do there. But as far as getting it into and out of Max, that is the basic procedure. And I will be doing some more tutorials on Marvelous Designer as I get deeper into it. But this is just a kind of a quick reference as to the importing and exporting process. I hope this was helpful, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot.